everyone. This is Vidette Vanderweide with the reinventionchannel.com, and I'm here with another spotlight interview and another powerful, inspired woman that I'm really excited to introduce you to. So I'm going to give you the official bio of her, and then I'm going to get right into the interview because she has a lot of great stuff to share, a lot of great nuggets that I know that she's going to share today. So Christina Daves is a serial entrepreneur who has founded and run 4 successful companies over the past 20 years, all serving unique niche markets. Her latest venture, Castmetic Designs, and that link will be on this page, was created to bring fashion to the medical industry by providing accessories to decorate unattractive medical devices. Christina conceived the idea in summer of 2012 when she broke her foot and was placed in a medical walking boot. We've all seen those too. She was miserable and longed for a way to make the boot more fashionable so she could feel better about herself. When she found that nothing was available, she realized she had stumbled literally on this untapped market in the medical industry. The first products available are fashion accessories for walking medical boots. These will help the close to 4 million people in the U.S. and more worldwide who are prescribed boots annually look and heal their best. Christina wants to offer people ideas and products that will give them an opportunity to feel good about themselves while they are recovering. I love that. Experience the healing power of fashion. Christina, welcome to the Spotlight interview series.
Thank you so much for having me.
It is such a pleasure. Hang on, I just want to shut this down so I don't, I'll edit this out. So, thanks for being here, and I love your story. So give us a little bit of the background. I know, 4 businesses that you've started. I can't imagine. Yeah. I have one that is overwhelming. But talk a little bit about your path from being an entrepreneur to breaking your foot to what you're doing now.
So I started in my 20s, think before the internet, before Match.com. We used to do big concerts in D.C. for 20-something singles. So we'd mail out 10,000 postcards and people would come. We'd have 10 bands. It was really fun. Mm-hmm. But then you grow up and you get married and you can't really throw parties till 3 and 4 in the morning for a living.
Good Lord. You're having your own breastfeeding party at 3 a.m.
Yeah. So then I kind of transitioned into, my strength is really research. Mm-hmm. So I got involved and did a lot of, in this area, America Online was founded here, and they did data centers. So I kind of found a niche where I could do feasibility studies for all their data centers and just kind of boom, 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 knock those out for them. That's when I had young kids. Mm-hmm. And then my girlfriend and I, we lived kind of out in a new area, and there was nowhere to shop. And we'd have to go 30 minutes to the mall to get a cute gift. And we had nothing. We didn't even have a Target. Wow. So we decided to open a cute little shop and convinced Vera Bradley and Brighton and some of these really big names.
Yeah.
Hey, we've got the demographics. Thank goodness for my land planning background because I did a whole feasibility study for them. And they let us open with their lines. So we had this amazing store that is still there today, but I left 2 years ago to spend more time with my kids. Mm-hmm. And then I broke my foot. It was actually the summer of 2010, and there was nothing to make them look good. Yeah. So as an entrepreneur, your brain starts going, well, if there's nothing out there, somebody must need it.
Yes.
And I spent the last 2 years and came up with this product that we launched in last February.
So I love... You think from a standpoint of an entrepreneur, but how many women, we're talking to women, so we'll just talk about that. How many women have ideas of something that is missing in the market, but don't do anything with it?
You have to do something. Do it.
Okay, so, and I'm going to talk from my own mindset. I have a service-based business, which is easy to put together. In my mind, I haven't come up with any ideas of products, so to speak, of things to take to market. But if I did, I think it would be such an overwhelming, the feeling would be so overwhelming to be like, where do I even start? I have this idea, where do I start? So talk about that process for you.
It was a long, arduous process. I read 1 million books. Thank goodness for the internet. There are so many resources. But I'll tell you, I spent 5 months trying to find a manufacturer in the United States. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting now, as I'm in more product-based entrepreneurial groups, how many women are like me who had this great idea, and nobody in the U.S. wants to manufacture products. And it's a really sad state of
Yeah.
our country. So I finally hired kind of a middle person. And after 5 months, when they told me they couldn't find any faux fur in China, I decided to let them go because there's faux fur on everything.
Yeah.
So I went to New York to a textile show, literally with my little prototypes, and said, "Can you make this? Can you make this? Can you make this?"
Wow.
And ended up serendipitously meeting two gentlemen who manufacture socks for Anne Klein and coats for Orvis. And they're in Philadelphia, and I'm in DC, and I went up there and met with them, and they helped me get my product manufactured in China.
Very good. I love when you use the word serendipitous, because I feel like when we're on the right path
These
and
things happen.
we're on to something, stuff
Yeah.
seems to just serendipitously drop down in front of us and say, "Oh, here's a person that could help me." So I always love, and almost every single interview that I have done on this series with women who are doing what they love, there's a spark of that in everything. Someone will say, "Oh, I just happened to meet somebody," or "I just happened to stumble into this," and it's just what happens when you're on the right path, or when you're going at least exploring that path.
And I think a lot of it is your mindset. I'm one of those people who really believes that you can create your own destiny. And if you keep those positive thoughts and you believe in what you're doing, those things will happen for you.
Yeah.
I really believe that.
So I want to kind of go back a little bit, because I want to come back to the cosmetic design, but I want to go kind of to the foundation of how did you get the entrepreneurial mindset? How did you fall in? I don't want to say fall into it, but how did you find that and feel secure in your abilities to be able to be an entrepreneur?
You know, that's a really good question, and I don't know. I'm one of these people that the minute I could get a work permit when I was 14, I started working. I always made my own money. I paid my way through college. You know, my parents offered, but I didn't want that over my head, and I've just kind of always done my own thing. So I guess I was born with it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I did work for other people at times, but once you start working for yourself and you start creating something, you can't go back.
Yeah, no. I used to work with a life coach who wrote a book about being psychologically unemployable. Like you just can't do it. Psychologically, it makes me crazy to think to go back. So you do whatever you have to do in order to make it work.
Right. And that's a 9-to-5 job I couldn't go back to. Now I work 6 a.m. till 1 a.m.
But it's fun,
and
right?
I love it. Yeah.
I know. People ask me all the time about that because they're like, "You seem like you work a lot." And I'm like, "I do, but it's not work. I need to find another word because I'll be like, all right, I got to go to work. I'll say that to my boys, but I don't want them to know that what I do is work in long hours, but." It's fun. It's enjoyable when it's yours, when it's your baby.
And you're building something, and there's never enough time to get you to the next level. Like, you're just so excited.
Yeah.
You know what's out there. You know what's coming, and you just want to get there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I read that you like about the entrepreneurial journey is showing your kids, especially your daughter, that you can do anything that you want. Talk a little bit about that, because I think that's super important as a mom myself. I love modeling this for my kids. So talk about your experience.
And it's funny because I didn't even realize it. I owned this store with my best friend, which you want to talk about not really working. I mean, you're with your best friend 8 hours a day. You travel to New York. You get to go to all the shows. I mean, it was so fun. But my daughter would come to work all the time with me. She loved to work the cash register, and she'd make little signs on the door with our hours, with her pretty crayons. And, it was a community store. Everybody knew her and loved her. And when I told her, the reason I left the store was because my son was playing travel ice hockey. We were kind of going all over the country, and I wasn't around a lot. And my daughter looked at me and said, "Mommy, we've never made Christmas cookies. How come?" Well, if you own a retail store from Thanksgiving to December 26th, you work 24/7. So that was kind of my big sign. But when I told her I was leaving, she cried for days. And she said, "Mommy, what will I tell people you do?"
Oh, wow.
Like, she had such an identity to that.
Yeah.
So to her, this is just normal that Mommy comes up with these crazy ideas and runs these businesses. And that I came up with the boot idea. And it's funny because they're friends. Like, if I'm on TV or on a show, the friends all love to see it. My kids could care less.
Really?
Because I think they think it's just normal.
Wow.
This is what Mom does. Mom runs a business, and this is... Mom is crazy and goes out and gets things done.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
But I hope she models after me and does that and realizes, hey, if my mom can do it, anyone can do it.
Yes. And I feel like that's exactly what will happen. I think there's a, and I don't mean this in any other way just to say it, but I believe in kids being raised by entrepreneurs that's all they will ever know.
No,
and
right.
they might go get a job, but I believe that they will always have the sense that eventually I have to work for myself, or have to,
Right.
not have to, but will want to, because they know what it's like. The moms were there to pick us up at school, but yet
Yeah.
they had this beautiful business. And to me, that's what's so important to just model with my boys. So if I get stressed out with my business, I usually take it upstairs. I don't do it, and I very rarely do, but if I do get stressed out, I try not to do it in front of them, because I don't want them to ever have the sense that having this business is hard or stressful or anything like that, although it is. But I think it's so important for them. Yeah, it's good stress. It is good stress. It's not like that debilitating stress. So when you launched the Castmedic boot, talk about any challenges that you faced along the way that you had to kind of plow through to say, you know what, I know you talked about trying to find a manufacturer in the U.S., but talk about your challenges, because we all have them, but we have to
don't know everything that's involved. So it's like, okay, well, I came up with this idea, and one big mistake I made, and anybody out there with a product, I'll tell you, don't do too many SKUs. I have 56 SKUs. Horrible mistake.
Talk about what is SKU. Will you define a SKU in case someone that doesn't know?
As an item code. Like I have 4 different fur cuffs, and I have, I think it's 9 different sock styles, and I have 15 flowers and 16 buttons for kids. No. I should have 1 or 2 of each, and that's it.
Gotcha.
So that's my big tip for anybody doing a product. Just do a few. And especially with my product, there was nothing else out there. So there was nobody could know the difference. We just couldn't decide. Everything was so great. We're like, we'll do this and this and this, and everything goes together.
So can I ask, what is the challenge with that? Is it the inventory? Is it just the design or the upkeep of?
Well,
talk about that.
For example, I would like to get into big box retail.
Yeah.
Well, no big box retail is going to carry 56 SKUs.
They
want to know your number 1 or number 2 bestseller, and that's it. So you're going to have to decide that for them, and then you're going to have products that aren't going to sell. Or you're better off if you just had a couple in each category. That's it, and then if those aren't working too well, you could bring different ones in later.
I gotcha.
But that was a very big, expensive lesson that I've learned. I mean, everything sells across the board, but in terms of it would have been much smarter to do much less.
Right. Go ahead.
But then you need things like a UPC code for a product. I had to learn about that. Of course, I did a business plan. I recommend that wholeheartedly to anybody. And there's an organization, score.org. I'm sure you've talked about that. We didn't have that here, but I had something comparable. Because I'm not a numbers person, so they did all my spreadsheets for me, and there's no charge. So use these resources that are available.
And that's a really great point, because there are so many resources. And I know there's people that specialize in coaching and teaching women entrepreneurs who have product-based businesses, and that will walk you through help you match you up to manufacturers or stores. Yeah. And, and I also imagine, too, trying to get into the big box retailers could be intimidating. Is it? And how do you just keep your passion about it enough to know that it should be in there, rather than like, oh, I probably couldn't get into Target, so I'll just go to these little retailers. Like, talk about the mindset of that.
Well, this product, and I have lots of products. This is the only one that's out right now. This one probably is never going to be in a Target. It isn't. I think it's a bigger market with 4 million people, but it's definitely more geared to smaller pharmacies, to doctors' offices, to physician stores, and that's where we're marketing. But I have other ideas that are definitely Target, Walgreens, these big. Go big or go home. You gotta try, and if you believe in it. And I'm a firm believer in connections. I connect all the time with people on LinkedIn, and if somebody knows somebody, and again, serendipitously, you always end up meeting the right people. Right.
And just talking about going big, you have had several, and I'm going to have the link for the sizzle reel on on this page, but you've had several TV opportunities to talk about, and talk about the contest on Steve Harvey Show, which is a hot show right now. Yeah. So talk about going big and putting yourself out there and taking advantage of those opportunities.
And that's a funny story. And I don't know, again, if you've ever told the people about Harrow, help a reporter.
Yes.
Okay. So, firm believer, I answer my queries 3 times a day if there's anything. So there was one that said, do you have a product you want to take to the next level? National television. You didn't know what it was. Yeah. So, of course, I responded. Well, a month later, I get an email from the Steve Harvey Show, and there's probably 100 emails on there.
Yeah.
So throughout the day, I went through kind of a weeding out process, an application, a phone interview. And they called me at 9 o'clock that night and said, we'd like to have you on the show, but you don't know what the show is. You just know it's product-based. And I said, okay, great. When? And they said, well, we're going to fly you out tomorrow.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Mom of two. I had, what's this? And they would never really tell you what the show was about. They kind of implied it was like Shark Tank. So I get out there and there's 6 of us and it's 45 minutes before we go on the air and they opened the door in the green room. There was another contestant night and they said, by the way, it's a contest for $20,000. Get your pitch ready.
Oh my gosh. And do you still at this point not know what show it is?
I knew it was Steve Harvey.
Okay.
I'm sorry, yes. But once they started emailing, I knew it was Steve Harvey.
Okay.
But we didn't know the topic of the show. Mm-hmm. Didn't know who else was there. So it ends up there are 6 contestants all competing for a $20,000 prize. So again, talking about go big, in my mind, I said, this is a once in a lifetime. It's national television. I can't blow this. Mm-hmm. And serendipitously, when I was picked up from the airport in a limousine, I was talking to the driver. And he said, nobody ever talks to me. I can't believe you're talking to me. And I said, why not? It's nice to meet somebody new. And he asked why I was in Chicago. And I told him, and he said, are you familiar with The Secret? Which is a book that I live by and believe in and kind of create your own destiny. And he said to me, I drove the publisher of The Secret to the Oprah Winfrey Show yesterday. He was sitting right where you are.
Wow.
He said it was a contest. I said, I've won. I have to win.
Yes.
That's just the destiny.
Yeah.
So I went out there with and everything I had. I was so sick. I had a terrible cold, but I pulled it together and I won. I gave my pitch and there were 2 judges and they picked my product. So it was surreal, just unbelievable.
I mean, it's just...
He keeps putting it on the show. He loves this product. I mean, he's just been so good to me. So I've had 3 appearances on the show.
Oh, you've had 3. I didn't know there was 3. I thought there was just, okay.
He just did another one, January 25th. He did a 5-minute highlight segment because Diana Ross wore my product. And he said, if the diva, Diana Ross, wears it, it's got to be good.
Yes. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
But what I love in the correspondence we had prior to this interview was that you'd mentioned that you won that prize just when another serendipitous moment, when a big credit card bill was coming through. Talk about that.
Yeah, and I've had a couple things like this happen, but yeah, I had a big credit card bill due in December, and the same thing happened in August, where I had a big bill due, and for whatever reason, I checked the credit card online, and there was a weird charge from Colorado. Well, I'm in Virginia, so I called the credit card company, and they said, oh, I see you have this empty balance of, X amount of dollars. We're doing a 0% transfer if you'd like to transfer. I was like, what? I called my husband. I said, I can't tell you what just happened.
Yeah.
So I transferred, and then I had another one due in December, and the same thing. The money came in.
Yeah.
So it works when it's supposed to.
It does, and it's the beautiful thing is it comes from unexpected places. Money will come from when we're on the path. We're following our dream, following the thread of joy is what I always say. Just call it the little thread, the joy. Just follow it. And when we do that, we get money from unexpected places. Yeah. Who would have ever thought you'd have a national television show, that you'd win, that you'd get $20,000? Yeah. You couldn't have made that happen. You had to have the right mindset to attract all of that to you. So I love that. How has this all changed your life?
Oh gosh. I'll tell you the greatest, you start a business and you think, oh, I'm going to sell this product and it's going to be wonderful. Well, it's totally transpired into something else. It's become this amazingly intrinsic business because I get emails all the time from people thanking me for, and you don't realize, people who are in these boots permanently, who haven't been able to be fashionable for years. I had a woman who's in what's called crow boots. That's diabetics because their feet become deformed. They can't walk unless they're in these boots, and they're awful. So I sent her, it was just a Merry Christmas, let's see if this works. I sent her some fur cuffs, and on Christmas Eve, and I cry every time I tell the story, I got a package of Christmas cookies. And she said, we don't have much, but we always send cookies to friends, and I now call you, I'm so honored to now call you my friend.
Wow.
So I get this kind of stuff now, and people who I'm really helping people feel better about themselves. Yeah. And that is my bigger purpose. Mm-hmm. That's why this is working.
And it does, like something like that transforms someone who like you said, is in a boot for 6 weeks, or if it's a lifetime commitment. It's a beautiful thing. I can remember, this came to my mind when I was reading your story. In my sophomore year, I got asked to go to the prom, and I had a broken ankle, so I had the old school, fiberglass cast on. Yeah. And my grandmother sewed me like a silk boot, or it was like a satin boot, and she put bows on it. Yeah. So I at least had something beautiful that matched my dress, and because I had a short dress, and I can remember like everyone just fawning all over it and saying, "Look, that's so cool that you did that." And it just immediately came back to me, but it made the difference for a teenager to go to a prom and at least have some, an ugly piece covered up. So for, especially for people who have diseases like, diabetes or any other reason. So are you going to expand into other medical devices? That's what it sounded like.
I have an office full of prototypes. I am fabulous slings. I've got covers. I've got all kinds of things I want to expand on. So this just has to take off, which it's starting to, and then we'll move on to other products.
Can you talk about you kind of mentioned, or you kind of just touched on it. Talk about the speed of growth of your business, and sometimes it seems like it's a slow start, and it's kind of like, when are people going to notice it? But talk about the patience that it takes to wait for that momentum to kick in.
Well, it does, and I'm not a good example because everybody jokes I'm type A on steroids. I don't sleep a lot, and I'm constantly go, go, go. What I've done in a year, I think would have taken most people years to do. I just am persistent, and I just go after anything, and I'll try, and my theory is the worst anyone's going to say is no.
Right.
But it's a long process, and I get frustrated, and I've only, I started manufacturing. Manufacturing took me a year, and then I've only been selling for a year. And if you look where I've come in that little bit of time, but you have to have patience. My husband gave me a little saying that says, overnight success takes 15 years.
Yes.
So, and he reminds me of that all the time when I get frustrated. Like, why isn't it going fast enough?
That's exactly how I am with my husband. I'm always like, what's it gonna take? And he's like, just look at how far you've come and look what you're doing already. But to me, I think for those of us, like I feel like we're very like-minded. We have these huge visions of what we want to do for this world, and it just seems like I'm just doing this much of it, and it's like I want to get all of this done right now and this year and today, and it takes that next step every single day, just taking that next step, answering the Harrow ads and going to the shows, and so it's just a step-by-step process, but we make it harder sometimes than it has to be by getting overwhelmed with all of the stuff.
Right. And you have to delegate out. And I'll tell you, my new thing for 2013, and I don't know if you've done it, but do you have a vision board?
You know what? This is why I put this sheet up, because it's right behind me.
Oh, is that your board? Okay. That was my goal. I'll tell everyone this is a great story. So that was my New Year's resolution for 2013. So on January 2nd, or January 1st, it wasn't even the 2nd, it was a holiday, I was making a sandwich, and I had the TV on the background, and there was a woman on, an author from a book called May Cause Miracles.
Oh, Gabrielle Bernstein. Yes.
Okay. So all she's talking about is her vision board. And all these things have happened since she's done her vision board. I'm like, okay, this is a sign. So that night, literally, I sent all these things off to my husband to print and cut out stuff and did my vision board. And within 3 days, I had 3 big hits off my board.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's like, so it sits in my office, and I look at it all the time, and they just keep coming in.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I have to, since we're talking about vision boards, so I've had this white car up here. Yeah. Can you see it? I don't know if you can see it. Well, anyway, I've had a white car on my vision board, and just yesterday I bought my white car. I bought brand new, and I love it because it's like when you check something off of that vision board, it's huge because those are the biggest goals you have for that year. Now that's been on it for 2 years in a row. But I'm like, I finally checked off the car, and that's such a big deal. So we celebrated last night, and it's so fun, and I think it's important to celebrate those big wins and live in them for longer than 2 minutes.
Right. And then keep looking at them. See it there. See it checked off.
Yes.
Look, you did.
Yes. Last year it was for me to write a book, and I got that done. And now it's like, that's huge. So those vision boards are so important. So important. And they're fun to do. So fun to do.
They are, yeah.
So one last thing I want you to hit on, because I think this is something that maybe many women watching this who might be in their 30s, 40s will say. You had touched on this in our correspondence, that you didn't grow into your skin until the late 30s.
Late 30s, absolutely.
So talk a little bit about that, because some people can, you can regret that, you can love that. Talk a little bit about that.
I wasn't a confident person. I wasn't a confident dresser. I didn't find myself that attractive. I just wasn't. And I don't know, something happened in my 30s, and it was probably when we did the store. Like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
Like, I can, and my business partner too, we really evolved with that. And it gave us a confidence. And I mean, I'm 46 now, and just starting this business, I started at 44. I mean, people were thinking, are you thinking retirement? No, I'm just starting.
Yes.
So I wish I had this at 20, but it everything happens for a reason. You build.
Yes.
To get where you are.
Yes. The path, and that's what I talk when I work with clients. It's always about that this was the path that brought you here.
Yes.
If I would have done what I'm doing now at 20, I would have been a disaster. Right. It never would have worked.
No.
But I as soon as I read that, I thought, me too, because I always tell my husband, I don't think I really stepped into who I was until I was 35, and then now I'll be 39 this year, and I feel empowered, I feel inspired, right. I feel like I can go out and inspire other people, and there's something that happens in that shift in the late 30s, and it's okay if you're that age, if you're 40, if you're 50, it's never too late to get it started, to get it being your gift or your talent, whatever that is, your idea to the market. So any last minute nuggets, and tell us a little bit about how we can find you and find more about you, and of course I'll have all the links too, but you tell us.
So our website is www.castmedicdesigns.com. We have a blog that we're just starting, so it's not perfect yet, but it's getting there, and that's thehealingpoweroffashion.com. We're on Facebook, Castmedic Designs, and Twitter is @MediFashions, which are what the products are called. And we're getting ready to launch a children's website. So it'll just be like all the kids stuff specific to that, but that'll still be a couple weeks, but that'll be on all our social media.
Perfect. Yeah. What last minute golden nugget do you want to share with viewers?
I tell people, if you have a passion, go for it. Really, just if you can, if you have the means, if you have people you can partner with, just if you believe that strongly in something, I think other people do too, and it will. Your path will come. It'll open for you.
Yes, you don't need to know the how. You just have to have the passion, the spark. Very good.
Yeah. Well,
Christina, this has been beautiful. I want to invite everybody watching this to also see your sizzle reel, because it's spectacular. It's impressive. For how long you've been in business doing this, the Castmedic Designs, for you to have that kind of sizzle reel is just a magnificent manifestation of what you are about, what your mindset's about, and your action is about. So please take a look at that. That link is on the page as well. I want to thank you all for joining us, and Christina Daves, thank you so much for being here and joining us for the Spotlight interview.
Great, thank you. Take care.
We'll see you all on the next Spotlight interview. See you then.